Hey, what's up guys, Sir Emanon here, bringing to you today a bit of an analysis video on the competitive viability of Magician Souls and Lunalights. So I've gotten quite a few comments on my videos recently, both on the Time Thief Lunalight deck profile and the combo video, asking me how I feel about this card in this deck. And there's quite a lot to discuss, but in this video I'm going to be going over both the strengths and weaknesses of the card, as well as how I feel it stacks up against some other options that you guys can play in the deck. So there's quite a lot to talk about, so without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it. So for those of you guys who aren't familiar with the card by now, or in case you are familiar but just want a quick refresher, Magician Souls reads as follows. You can send up to 2 spells or traps from your hand and or field to the graveyard, draw that many cards. If this card is in your hand, you can send 1 level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard, typically in this case being Apprentice Illusion Magician, then activate one of these effects. Special summon this card, or you can send this card to the graveyard, then you can special summon 1 Dark Magician or 1 Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard. Now obviously when we are using this card's effect, we're just going to be special summoning this card, we are not intending on playing Dark Magician cards in our Lunalight deck anytime soon. You can only use each effect of Magician Souls once per turn. Now this card has obviously been seeing mainstream play in decks like Spiral, but it's also made an appearance in some top cut lists of Lunalights as of lately. For example, we have Noah Bagelman's top 16 PPG Orlando list, where he opted to play this exact engine, and we also have seen some regional tops as well. So this card has sparked quite a bit of discussion, and I kind of want to go over both the strengths and the weaknesses of it. Alright, so why is this card being played in Lunalights to begin with? Why is it being hyped so much? Well, first off, it is a free body allowing you to extend your plays and improve your ceiling, both going first and going second. So Magician Souls, being a dark spellcaster, allows you to combo very nicely with cards like Force Tricks and your Lunalight cards to allow you to go into something like Curious the Lightsworn Dominion. This card has been the cornerstone of Lunalight builds ever since the new support came out, allowing you to just get free advantage and more resources at your disposal. Additionally, going second, this card allows you to link climb into cards like Nightmare Phoenix and Borosword Dragon, which allows you to break boards and go for the OTKs. The card also allows you to get spells and traps in your graveyard in order to draw more cards. Now this is really beneficial for a wide variety of reasons, the first of which starts off with Fire Formation Tenki. Now this is a prime example of what I mean by surplus, because after you use its effect to search, you don't really have any use for it other than it providing you a very minor attack boost, so you can send it to the graveyard, or even better if you drew multiples to the graveyard to draw fresh cards that would oftentimes just serve you better purposes. So it's a prime example of turning a card that already is very solid for giving you play starters into even more extension. Similarly, with cards like Lunalight Perfume and Lunalight Serenade Dance, these cards offer utility when in the graveyard to allow you to use the cards that you just drew or other cards that you already have in your hand to go even more plus. Magician Souls is also actually really good with Allure of Darkness, which is a card that I traditionally don't really like in Lunalight simply because the Lunalight monsters themselves are not cards that you're typically trying to banish. However, when you have cards like Magician Souls and other dark extenders that you have spares of, such as Time Thief Winders, you can easily just banish multiple copies that you draw off of Allure of Darkness in order to actually get more access to extenders, which is really good. Finally, Magician Souls is really good at helping you dig for otherwise unsearchable non-engine or side cards, things that you might be main decking like hand traps like Droll and Lockbird or DD Crow, or even things that you plan on siding in like Twin Twisters. These are all cards that really you don't have much access to other than hard drawing, but in the case of Magician Souls, you can simply just try and draw into them and get access that way. Now of course, the card is not all upside and no downside, because if it were, then I would simply just tell everybody to play 3 copies of Magician Souls in every single Lunalight build moving forward, and that would kind of just be the end of that, right? But we're here in this video to not only talk about the positives, but also the negatives of playing this engine, so let's just talk about them. The first thing I want to go over is the mandatory engine requirement of playing the Apprentice Illusion Magician, or I suppose any level 6 or higher spellcaster, but this is simply just the best one, so I'm going to be talking about it. Now, Apprentice Illusion Magician is not the worst Garnet, it's definitely better than the actual Gemini Garnet in the Brilliant Fusion engine, because she summons herself and she can technically also set up your graveyard in the process, but this is naturally not a card that you want to draw in your opening hand. It gets even worse when you draw alongside your Magician Souls, because now Souls is a card that you're forced to normal summon, and it competes for cards like Lunalight Kaleido Chick or Emerald Bird for that slot. Generally, when you're playing Magician Souls, you want to be special summoning it as a free body, as an extender like we mentioned earlier, so having that be hindered is definitely not a good thing. The second thing, and something that I think is commonly overlooked, is the fact that you have to have a specific hand for the card to actually work in this deck. Unlike Spiral, where you have a card that you actually want to send to the graveyard like Master Plan, this card actually requires your hand to be a specific way for you to actually get value out of it. So let's go ahead and talk about the Lunalight Spell or Trap lineup, at least the standard cards that are commonly played, and go through each of them and their uses. So first off, we have a card like Fire Formation Tenki. This is obviously the card that best works with Magician Souls because no matter if your hand is good or bad, drawing Souls plus Tenki allows you to just extend even further. You get value out of the Tenki, and even if Tenki gets ashed or something like that, then you can simply just send it to the graveyard to get a free draw and see where you can work from there. Similarly, a card like Lunalight Serenade Dance is a card that you want in your graveyard at all costs. You never really want to see it in your opening hand hard drawn, or even if you search it off of something like Lunalight Yellow Marten, you want this card to get engraved somehow. So Magician Souls being a very nice avenue for that is a positive thing for this deck. Now, what about a card like Foolish Burial Goods? Well, this is where it gets a little bit gray as far as the value of the Magician Souls, because if Foolish Burial Goods is a card that you need to activate in order to actually get your Lunalight players online in the first place, then Magician Souls really isn't offering anything good or new that this card wouldn't be capable of doing. Goods is a guaranteed play starter, whereas Magician Souls is, generally speaking, not going to be necessarily drawing you the card that you need all the time. That's just natural variance of drawing, of course. So when you open Foolish Burial Goods and it's the only copy that you have, then you're commonly going to be using it instead of sending it to the graveyard. Of course, if you're drawing multiples of it, since it is a hard once per turn, then of course Magician Souls is going to be beneficial for you. But you have to kind of weigh that as far as the probability of opening souls and multiple copies of this card, so that's something to definitely consider. And then Lunalight Perfume is probably the most interesting card with this deck as far as Magician Souls is concerned, because a lot of people point to this card and say, well, this is a card that you definitely want in the graveyard because it gets you value. And while that certainly is true, it kind of depends on what you draw Lunalight Perfume with. For example, if you draw it with something like Lunalight Tiger, then yeah, definitely you want to have Magician Souls put Perfume in the grave as soon as possible so you can actually get your search for your Kaleido Chick and get your full combo online. But if you draw something like Lunalight Perfume with Lunalight Kaleido Chick, then it gets a lot weirder because you definitely want to actually be activating Perfume, right? Especially if you don't have access to Tiger already, then you just get free access to another level 4 body, which is really beneficial for stuff like Force Tricks because that gives you an immediate option for you to pitch a card to get access to your Tiger with Perfume's graveyard effect. In this case, do you really want to be sending Perfume with souls as opposed to actually activating it? In most cases, the answer is no. So in a lot of instances, you actually just kind of have to look at your rest of your hand and see if Souls' draw effect is actually worth using. Also, there are just some hands in this deck where Magician Souls' draw effect really doesn't do you very much. For example, we have this all monster heavy hand where you don't have access to Lunalight Tiger, and so you can't really get your play started, and Magician Souls doesn't help solve that problem. But also we have another hand such as this one where you do have technically a spell card that you could use Magician Souls to draw a fresh card, but like I mentioned earlier, if you have just one copy of Foolish Burial Goods, are you really going to be sending it to the graveyard to draw one random card when instead you could be using Goods to send like a Perfume to get you access to Tiger that you need in this hand? In pretty much every case, you're not going to be using Souls' draw effect, so you sort of have to just weigh the options and see exactly where Magician Souls is actually applicable. The next issue I have with this card is that it's really bad to draw in multiples, and while it's true that cards like Tenki and even Lunalight Kaleido Chick also aren't ideal to draw in multiples, the difference is that this card is not really a part of the Lunalight engine specifically, so when you draw 2 or even worse 3 of this card in your opening hand, it really has diminishing values for you, because for each additional copy of Souls that you open with, it means that not only do you have less engine cards to start with, but you also don't have another spell or trap card to be able to use its draw effect with, so you can't even get access to your engine that way. And when you draw multiples of this card, of course, you're only playing one copy of Apprentice Illusion Magician, so the other 2 copies just largely become dead and unusable for you. Now, the next thing that I want to bring up is the fact that if you do decide to play Magician's Souls in the deck, then that means that you have to cut out 4 spots in your main deck in order to actually include the engine. So typically what this means for most players is that they're going to be cutting down on their danger package. And while this isn't necessarily a bad thing on its own, you have to weigh the cards that you're cutting for the cards that you're including. So what I mean by this is that if you're going to cut an engine as powerful as the dangers, you really have to ask yourself the question, is the Magician's Souls package actually better than the cards I'm about to cut? And this is a question that I'm hopefully going to answer for you guys in the next couple of minutes, but just keep that in the back of your mind when you're thinking about deck building. And finally, the last downside I have to include is, of course, the cost. This card is incredibly expensive, and I know that for some players, it's not actually an issue for them. If you're able to buy this card and afford this card, then go right ahead if you so wish, but I know that a lot of people aren't really willing to spend close to $400 for a playset of this card, at least at the time of recording this video, so definitely do keep that in mind that this card is definitely going to put a dent in your wallet. Okay, so I briefly mentioned dangers in the last section of the video, and I kind of want to expand on that a little bit more by having a bit of a side-by-side comparison of the cards in terms of what they offer to the deck, because I think both offer very similar niches, right? Both are extenders, both help you draw into more cards, both offer different types for curious, but what exactly differentiates them and why would you want to play one over the other? So starting off with Magician's Souls, first off, it has the ability to allow you to turn certain cards that would otherwise be dead in your hand into live cards in your graveyard. I gave the example of Perfume plus Tiger earlier, where in that case, you would really want Perfume to be in the graveyard. And while it's true that Dangers can technically do the same thing, the fact is that Magician's Souls in that instance is a guaranteed setup, right? It's not like Dangers where it relies on your opponent to randomly pick a card out of your hand, but Souls allows you to get specific cards that you might want into the graveyard to actually generate you more advantage. And of course the cards you draw themselves are going to be random, but this card at least helps you control some element of your graveyard setup, which is a really good thing. Magician's Souls also allows you to get really incredible value out of certain hands. I gave another example earlier of Fire Formation Tenki with Souls, and that's a prime way for you to actually turn a good hand into an even better one. And finally, it lets you actually see certain side deck cards without the risk of actually discarding them to things like Danger RNG. You're allowed to actually draw into the cards without actually giving up the ones you already have in your hand. Then moving on into the Dangers. First off, you can actually trigger your monster effects pretty reliably with the Dangers, stuff like Martin and Emerald Bird, and if you manipulate your hand just right, which is pretty easy to do by just setting the spells and traps that you don't want to discard, then you can get a lot of value pretty quickly with them. Dangers also have really powerful synergies with other cards in the deck. Things like Perfume Engrave, things like Nightmares, things like Twin Twisters. All these cards are really great in tandem with Dangers specifically, and that's something that Souls doesn't offer. Third, the Dangers are really just versatile in the fact that they're live in pretty much every single hand that you can think of. Whether you're extending your plays to make even more broken boards, or fixing your hands to make your boards in the first place, the Dangers are really nice to see in pretty much all of your opening hands. And finally, there's just more of them. Souls is limited to 3, but the fact that you can play a lot of Dangers that can help you dig into more cards even more, and without having to play suboptimal cards like Apprentice Illusion Magician, makes the Danger engine really alluring to play. So in the end, what do I think about Magician's Souls? I think it's good in this deck actually, and the fact is that whether or not you want to play it is ultimately your decision, and you can use your own judgment as well as the information in this video to help guide your decision. I think that if you didn't want to play it, or if you can't afford to play it, it's not really that big of a deal because you can just substitute with other engines, mostly the Dangers, or whatever you can afford in your budget. And for me personally, I kind of fall into that boat as well because I don't really feel like spending the $400 on the playset just about, so I don't really want to include it. And finally, results and empirical evidence do show that it is a solid inclusion. There are topping deck lists that you have at your disposal, so if you have the means to buy it, I would definitely at least experiment with it if you wanted to, but ultimately, again, it is your own discretion. So that's going to actually be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like as well as any thoughts or feedback in the comment section down below. Feel free to subscribe for more informative and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. If you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch, all through links in the description as always. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will catch you in the next video. See you guys!